guys, welcome to the Hype Attack Podcast, where we weigh in on the latest in nerd and pop culture hype.
We're the fandom. We are the excited conversations we have with our friends about the nerdy things we all love and geek about. We are the Hype Attack.
I am the hype!
Hi guys, welcome back again. I missed you guys, and this time I'm talking about everybody in the room. Who's that? I'll let you know. Well, I'm Isaac. To the right of me is Doug.
Hi.
To the cross from me. Across from me is Jermaine.
What's
and
up?
To the left of me is beautiful Rudy.
What's up?
What is up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Usually we start immediately with how we nerded, but I have an announcement for you guys.
What's that?
I'm kind of excited. We actually got a sponsor.
What?
Yeah, we got a sponsor. So we're just gonna just Rudy, go ahead and play the sponsor.
The Hype Attack Podcast brought to you by Alchemax Labs. Live life to the max. Alchemax, rated 3.2 stars out of 5. Available in all universes.
That's cool. So Alchemax is supposed to be like a modern tech. It just sounded a little. Oh, thank you, Alchemax, for sponsoring. We really appreciate it. Thank you. No judgment.
Yeah, Alchemax.
No, I mean it's cool. And hey, whoever's listening, we're just starting, and if you want to be a sponsor too, hit us up in the DMs. Be alongside with Alchemax. They did want me to read a supplemental thing about Alchemax, so I just put the copy. Hi, I'm Isaac with the Hype Attack Podcast, and I love Alchemax. What's this? Disclaimer: products contain carcinogenic. Oh fuck. So try Alchemax, guys. How you guys doing? How's you guys nerd? Doug?
My teeth clinked my glass. I was wondering if they picked up on the mic. It was a hardcore clink.
Ouch. Beautiful choppers.
I nerded a couple ways. One, I finally found time this season to watch some of the Overwatch League. I've been pretty busy lately, so I haven't been able to, and it was fun. LA Gladiators got swept by Boston, so that was disappointing. But San Francisco Shock, their tank played a character that's not like really in the meta and was really good at it, and it was kind of exciting to see. And then, of course, Diablo 4 dropped, so I've been hardcore sweaty on that.
Dude, give us a little more detail on that, because I'm seeing, I don't know anything about Diablo, but I mean, fucking surprise, I hardly know anything about anything, but tell me about it.
Well, it took me a while to figure out which class I wanted to play, but I ended up with Rogue because the Rogue can use a bow, and I'm a sucker for bow wielders. And yeah, so I mean, it's so good. It's so smooth. Haven't had any problems other than I finally got like a disconnect right before this. Yeah, it's, I played a lot of Diablo 3. I didn't play any Diablo 1 or 2. And I've tried other action RPGs, which is the genre that this is in. Mm-hmm. And, there's been some that are good. But Diablo just nails it in the look, the feel. Even at a low level, like you feel pretty powerful. And then the gear system and the leveling system, all of it just works really, really well. So I'm excited because, like I said, I played the hell out of Diablo 3. So it's nice to be able to go back and, I mean, kind of just jump right back into it with all the new systems and new graphic and all that. And new story. Lilith, the villain, is badass. And Inarius, the angel that's also kind of an asshole, is really cool looking too. So good stuff.
So you tell people to go check it out?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, like I said, you can be a sponsor too. Diablo, wink, wink. Jermaine, my beautiful main hype man, across from me. How did you nerd this past week?
I finished Star Wars Vision, which was good. I loved.
It's about time.
Majority of episodes. But I mean, each one is good in its own thing. But besides that, though, I watched that one series on Disney Plus, the American-born Chinese.
Little fun fact, and I just saw the guy today. One of my clients is a producer on that movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. But I watched that series for those of you who know like the story of like the Monkey King, that's what it's about. Like it's like a modern day story of him, and it's not like it's a fun series. Like it's almost on a level of let's say maybe like Cobra Kai ish.
Okay.
Like it's like it's kooky, like it has funny moments and it has drama and whatnot, but it's not like a serious series, you know what I'm saying? But it had its comedy moments, which I dug the series, and I believe they should be coming out with season 2, but we'll see. But it was a pretty good series for what it was.
So I should check that out too.
I mean, like if you're like on that level of like you understand that it's like it's kooky and it's for teens, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not like raid level or anything.
Yeah.
So
I'll check it out. I mean, plus, like I said, like Glenn is a producer, so I was like, "Hey man, congrats with the show. I still got to check it out." Rudy,
you're like, "Congrats with the show. Pay your writers."
How did you nerd, man?
I haven't really had a chance to do anything. Like work is kicking my ass this week and next week. We're ramping up to our annual inventory where we count every single damn thing inside the building, and it's just getting all that ready is a pain in the ass. And then the car kind of didn't break down, but it was on its way, so we had to pull that apart and
That's nerdy.
fix the wheels.
Mechanics is nerdy and hot. How did I nerd, you ask? I did see a couple of things that are in the nerd realm. I'm going to quickly get through them. I checked out The Little Mermaid.
Right.
I have no issues with it. The CGI is CGI. You've seen the trailers. You kind of see how when they're underwater, I had issue with like it didn't feel like they were underwater. Like there's a part where nobody cried underwater, but somebody had like you have like kind of watery eyes, and they had that underwater, and I'm like, and you took me out of it.
Then you go the opposite route, and like fire was like shooting out of their eyes.
What is that in SpongeBob?
Steam.
Patrick, how do we have fire underneath the water? But what's her name? Halle Bailey? Halle Bailey. Getting blank sticks.
really?
Huh? Anyways,
Wheelie Keely.
the actress that played Ariel is beautiful, stunning. Her voice, even her talking voice, like sounded like Ariel, and her singing voice was just it was magical. So if you're gonna see it for anything, see it for the music and the songs, and the characters had a little bit more of a backstory, so they're kind of connected. And for those of you wondering, like, how in 2023 are they gonna get away with the kiss the girl? They rewrote it a little bit that it fit in perfectly. I enjoyed the movie.
Sha-la-la-la, ask permission.
It was, yeah.
Get consent.
Have you heard it?
No.
You're close. You're really
Awesome.
close. But
Good, you should ask permission.
you should. Consent. My only complaint is that they did my boy Flounder wrong. Have you seen images of what Flounder looks like?
Yes.
Yes.
Man, they did him wrong, man. But other than that, no, it's a fun movie. Check it out, especially if you have kids. What I also saw, and it may not be in like the hard nerd realm, but I'm a nerd about comedy. And Bert Kreischer is a comedian. He does a podcast with Tom Segura called Two Bears, One Cave. His movie, The Machine, came out. You guys familiar with Bert Kreischer or The Machine?
Mm-hmm. That machine story is probably one of my favorite. And whenever it shows up on any of my feeds, I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to sit here and listen to this for the 100th time.
Yeah, type in The Machine, Bert Kreischer. I don't know how to spell his last. People mispronounce his last name all the time. Bert Kreischer, Brett Krisner. But anyways, type in The Machine and then check out his story. It's a fucking crazy one. But the whole thing is that this thing happened to him. He made it into a stand-up bit, and then he turned into a movie. Not some little low-budget movie, like a high-budget action film co-starring Mark Hamill as his dad. I will say go check it out. It's a fun movie. I would also say check it out in the theaters, especially because if you are like me and love comedy and you miss seeing comedians, like actual stand-up comedians in those types of movies, like it's a fucking full-on action flick. This guy's like, this big bear of a guy, shirtless, kicking ass. I think the last time I'd seen something like that was like Chris Farley in movies. So if you want to see something like that, go check out The Machine. It was a very, very fun fucking movie to see. And then, of course, saw Across the Spiderverse. We all saw Across the Spiderverse. I think, Doug, you just saw it last night.
Yeah.
Got it under the wire. Mm-hmm. And so that is what we're going to fucking be talking about today, guys. Welcome to the Hype Attack Podcast. Let's get into it.
It was really good.
It was
At almost every 5 minutes, we're just gonna be like, "Yeah, it was a fucking great movie. It was really good." Did you see the animation? It was really good.
It was so good.
like I've been talking about it with some friends and family that haven't seen it, and the ones that haven't seen it, oh, you know what? Sorry, before we even get into anything, Rudy's going to put a big spoiler warning sound effect at the top of this because this episode is going to post probably about 2 weeks or some change after the movie had actually come out. And it's going to be really difficult to discuss the movie without any spoilers. So, big fat spoiler warning.
Spoiler alert.
Now that that's out of the way, the movie was really good.
It's so hard. Like I was at work trying to talk to my friend about it. He's like, "What did you like about it?" Like fucking everything. How do you break that shit down,
Dude?
I'm pretty sure you could pause the movie at any moment and get just a cool art piece, like a poster. Every second is probably like something that's worth putting on a wall.
You guys always teach me something, and there are so many of those moments in which it like slow-mos and it's a splash page looking thing, and I'm like, splash page, splash page, splash page. Every fucking scene. You're right. It's a really fucking good movie. But what I was saying before is I was talking about it with friends and family who haven't seen it, and I was trying not to like spoil it for them or ruin anything. And it was hard to do. It was really difficult to do because there's certain things that happen that you want to bring up because it's exciting and it's cool the way that they did it, but it would have been spoiling it. But fuck it, we're spoiling everything right now. So you got your warning. Maybe this episode isn't for you. And if you haven't seen the goddamn movie yet,
Go see the fucking movie.
Yes. We're not paid. We're not sponsored. But just go. Okay, other than it being really fucking good, if you've seen the first Into the Spider-Verse, it came out in 2018 in December. We all love Spider-Man. I'm wearing a Spider-Man mask on my head right now. We all love Spider-Man. A lot. There's a bunch of Spider-Man gear in our studio. Some of it.
I'm playing for the camera. Sorry.
So, some people may not be familiar with Miles. What happened?
I said two things.
we got a pair of gear.
It's plural. It's
pair of gear.
Three.
Dude.
I have a shirt in my bag. It all counts.
And I guess it's in the Hype Attack, like on another universe. Where they have everything.
So, everyone knows Peter Parker. That's like the main Spider-Man that everyone knows about. But I forget back when they created Miles Morales. If I'm not mistaken, it was actually kind of thanks to Donald Glover, Childish Gambino.
I had just watched a breakdown video of that thing, and apparently that was a response because Donald Glover, I think it was in Community. Mm-hmm. What I seen, he wakes up and he has Spider-Man pajamas on, and then there was a petition within that community for him to play a Spider-Man, and from that the people who created Miles Morales was like, well, why don't we just make a comic book character? And
he was introduced in the Ultimate Universe, right?
Yes, he was introduced in the animated.
Was he?
He voiced Miles.
No, Miles Morales in general, I think was
in the comic.
Because Marvel had that whole separate universe, the Ultimate Universe.
I thought you were talking about Donald Glover. Yeah.
And that was their kind of like playground because it wasn't the main MCU. They were able to do extra things, so they killed off Peter Parker.
Right. Yeah.
Introduced Miles Morales.
So he actually wanted to play. Donald Glover wanted to play Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man when they were getting ready to do all that stuff with Andrew Garfield. Mm-hmm. Like he had wanted to play him, and then after all that stuff happened, as Doug said, but that was in the universe, in the Ultimates from him, that's where they decided to, you know what, let's create a Spider-Man in honor of Childish Gambino.
Yeah.
But in the comics, they did eventually like destroy that Ultimate Universe, but they saved him. I want to say he might be the only character from the Ultimate Universe that they actually brought back into the main MC. I guess not MCU, MC Comics and Marvel Comics. Yeah. Why did they say C? It's comics. That's a line from the movie.
From what I heard,
It's like chai tea.
Or non-bread.
ATM machine, machine. From what I heard, if I'm not mistaken, that they did want Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, to play Miles Morales, but eventually, because it takes so long for things to get greenlit, he kind of aged out of it, but still kind of played homage to that whole thing in Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Was it the first one?
I don't remember
Homecoming?
if it was the first one.
It might have been
Yeah,
the
you're
first
right. He was in one of them.
Yeah, Homecoming. He
I
played.
know he was in there. All that stuff is blurred right now for me.
It's
Yeah.
so much. It's hard to be a nerd. It's so hard to be a nerd, guys. You don't even know. But he got to play the uncle. He got to play Miles Morales' uncle. What is it? Aaron Davis? Do you remember the uncle's name? I just know him as a Prowler. I was trying to look it up.
Oh, no, I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
Where's Mahershala?
But man, can we just say that the way how this movie looked, for me, it was the animation, damn near within the whole thing. Like, I loved every universe, how they had its different style and everything. But I really liked the beginning with Gwen Stacy, like that watercolor-ish like feel of the world. I like how it came in and started with her story, right?
For Across the Spiderverse,
Yeah. But it was just one of those things. Like, I was just like, man, this is her universe. I was like, I can't wait to see what they're gonna do with everybody else's, and they delivered big time.
Beyond delivered.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, just the opening, I mean, not opening credits, but even when they were just showing like Sony Animation and Columbia, like just even that was glitching through all the different styles. And right away I was sitting in my seat like, God, I love this. Like it was so cool. I guess just because, I don't know, I like art. So just seeing those different styles. And then, you know, right away, the first villain that we get into is that Vulture, but from like that Renaissance, Leonardo da Vinci kind of art. And like that, like to have it so different from that watercolor look or Miles Morales' animation look, it's like, oh man, like they're going right into it to show us like the contrast that we can get. And it was just damn cool.
And speaking of that Vulture, he when Miguel O'Hara jumps in and helps save the day. I was going to say spoiler alert, but we already gave that at the top of the show. So hey, where Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099 says, "Oh no, he has hammer power," and I was like, "What the fuck does he mean?" And what was cool throughout the whole movie is that they would have these little text explanations, like in a comic, that would give you what that explanation is, so you're not lost. So essentially, you can kind of go into the movie kind of not knowing much about it. Of course, see the first movie, Into the Spider-Verse, which we'll get into in a second, but we're so fucking excited about Across the Spider-Verse that hammer time thing was super cool. And do I even need to explain it? I mean, if you're listening to this, you saw the fucking movie.
Hopefully.
That'd be weird if you're just listening to this. You're like, oh, I've not seen the movie. I'll just figure it out. Yeah, I'm not going to over-explain that shit, but it's just a really fucking cool movie.
But it was just good, man. Like what we had just mentioned, or Doug had just mentioned, like with that Renaissance look, like they legit came into this, and I feel like they were like, we're gonna go all out regardless of what it is, and just the fact that he looked like a drawing on paper,
on parchment,
just like that whole aspect of that, like this movie literally grabbed me and it didn't let go until the very end. Like I was in it. I was enjoying everything from the dialogue to the animation to the colors to all the other Spoodermans and Spidermans that you got to see in this thing. And at the same time, like I'm watching it, but my eyes are bouncing everywhere
Yeah.
because I'm trying to pick up like little hints or
Easter eggs
or anything that's in there. And I feel like it's one of those movies that you would probably definitely have to go back and watch it again because you're gonna pick up things that you didn't catch the first time around.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just that good. Like I was just in this movie until the very end.
Well, the fun thing about it, seeing all those different art styles, like the Renaissance one or even Spider-Punk, which I'm sure we'll talk a bunch about.
Oh yeah.
We've all seen drawings like that, but to see it animated,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, especially like that Renaissance parchment, like that's so cool. And like, to go off subject a little bit, a lot more indie video games are kind of delving into that. Like, what other kind of art can we animate into a game?
Yeah.
And I love it. And so I'm very excited to see more of it. And I'm hoping that this, opens that door more for games or movies to explore alternative art styles.
Yeah, because especially especially with you that you game often, to put it lightly, is your eye kind of gets used to something. And I think when we were talking about it in our video game adaptation episode,
Put the wand away.
No.
where
That's not a wand. Sorry.
I forgot what I was going to say. Not worth it. I'll say this: the first movie, Into the Spiderverse, took the nation by storm. Because what I was trying to get to before was not a lot of people are familiar with the character of Miles Morales, and those who love Spider-Man are aware of Miles Morales, and we've seen him pop up in the Spectacular Spider-Man, some other animated things. You see him pop up here and there. I think Jermaine, you had mentioned he was voiced by Donald Glover in one of the animated series. But you never saw him on the big screen in live action. And there was
Because now we got him on PlayStation.
Yeah, that's cool, dude. I played a little bit of that game. That's fun. But as much as us Spider-Man lovers would have wanted to see him on the big screen and in live action, I know we've talked about it a bunch before, but it's studio-wise, it's a gamble because not a lot of people know of Miles Morales. So it's awesome that we still got to see him on the big screen, but in animation. And then after seeing the first movie, and obviously after seeing the second movie, I am glad that they did it in anime. News said they confirmed that they're actually going to have a live action.
One of the CEOs, I think or not the CEO, but like a producer or whatever you want to say. One of the producers announced, I believe it was like at the premiere, that they are in development of a live action Miles Morales and a Spider-Woman. So we will finally see them hopefully on the big screen.
And here's the interesting part. Before the Into the Spider-Verse came out, I would have been like, all right, super, super happy and hyper. But after seeing these two animated movies, they blew it out of the water. Now it's like, dude, how do you now just have a live action?
See,
Yeah, no, that's exactly. When Sony and Disney announced that they were going to be working together to finally bring Spider-Man into the MCU, there was a part of me that wanted like Disney to take Miles Morales, and then Sony can continue making Peter Parker movies, and then they can introduce Miles Morales into the MCU just to kind of shake things up and stuff. But what you just said, I'm glad they didn't, because I think Tom Holland ended up being a great Peter Parker for the MCU, and seeing it in animation, 10 times better, I think.
I will say this though, the Tom Holland version of Spider-Man in the MCU, I always felt like it should have been Miles Morales. Not saying that Tom Holland didn't do a great job. Like I loved what he did with Spider-Man, but the aspect of like a young Spider-Man who is coming into his own and having like a mentor.
Yeah.
I feel like that aspect of a Spider-Man feels more like a Miles Morales than like a Peter Parker.
Yeah.
So I always felt like it should have been him, but now that we're finally gonna get him,
I'll actually have to disagree with you though on that one.
come at me, bro.
Is what makes part of what makes the Miles Morales character, his storyline interesting is that he does have an established Spider-Man, Peter Parker, to mentor him. It wouldn't have felt right if Miles Morales was being mentored by Iron Man.
Not originally in the comics because Peter was dead, but
Yeah.
No, he didn't. Oh fuck, I don't know then. Shit,
though,
I retract my statement.
But I mean, they eventually did.
Oh
Bring
no, we
him,
hear what you're saying. Like
bring
I
him back
understand
into the
what you're
Marvel
saying.
comics, and then he.
I feel attacked.
Yeah.
I'm insecure now. I don't want to talk.
Do you know what podcast you're on?
Let's hype it up, dude. Speaking of which, so again, the first movie was fucking amazing, right? I'd seen it twice in the theaters and was blown away by what my fucking eyes took in, the art styles amongst a bunch of other things. The art styles, the voice acting, the storyline, the way to introduce this character, this being his origin story. And then knowing, because there was a cliffhanger at the end of the first one, knowing that they're going to do a second one, going, how are they going to do a second one? Holy shit, they fucking blew that out of the water in the most fantabulous, exciting way. I mean, talk about just stepping the whole game up. I mean, and now the third one's going to come out March of next year?
I think so.
Yeah.
I was laughing because I forgot that they've already established that this was a two-parter. So towards the end of this movie, I mean, not that I was like bored with it. I was happy to sit there for more, but towards the end they go to that twist, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, how long is this movie? Or like, are they going to wrap it up? Are they going to wrap it up like super quick and awkward? And then it was like, oh wait, no, dummy, it's a two-parter. We're going to get to be continued to, and we did. And I was like, okay.
I feel for those people that did not know,
About
and
to
I was
say.
just like,
Yeah.
could you imagine? Because
I heard the groans.
Oh yeah, like it was all over. After I watched the movie, like I went into a online deep dive. All the nerds love this movie. People are roaring and raving about it. I'm already hearing people saying that it's the best comic book movie ever made, and it's just one of the. And granted, that's going to be like a debate. Like you can go back and forth, but there's.
I don't know. They went hard, man.
Oh no, there's one guy that I follow that goes by the name of Comics Explained. He's saying it's the best. He's saying it's better than Endgame or Infinity War and Endgame. Ooh. He went that far, and I was like,
Do you remember any of his reasonings?
well, he said if it's just a standalone movie, he said that that he feels the only reason why Infinity War and Endgame were as good as they were because we had that 10-year build up.
Absolutely.
But with just
edging
a
of
movie, like just a standalone movie by itself,
Yeah.
like he was like, you can't touch this movie, Endgame or any of those. Like just this solo movie alone, like it just felt good. And I will say the one thing about this movie, well, I mean, there's many things, of course,
yeah.
but it's like when I watch this movie, I'm like literally watching this movie, and I'm like, why can't they do this in the live action movies? Because it's everything that you see and you fantasize and you read comic books and you play these video games, and I'm like, they're giving it to you. And I know I had discussed this last time, but it's just one of those things. Like I feel like because it was an animated universe, they felt like they could play and get away with so much more. And I wish that they take that mindset into these live action movies, because just the sequence of when Spider-Gwen went to go see Miles for the first time, and he was grounded. But when they were swinging through the city, having their little moment, and then they finally met up atop of the building, and just her like walking on the statue head and just like walking upside down. And for myself, being a artist, and I love animation and all that stuff, but just the animation style of just knowing that she's upside down, because I don't know if you guys paid attention to it that much, but even Boss Logic said it himself too, like the little subtle like animation like in their cheekbones, like when they're hanging upside down, like you can tell, but it's just one of those little moments, like it was just beautifully well done. And I'm like, I don't ever think anybody would ever do something like that in a
live action.
In a live action, like just that sequence alone. And even I'm gonna skip forward when they went into the multiverse and they showed all the Spider-Man in their training facility, and that one Spider-Man had his doing the iconic.
I wrote that down.
Spider-Man scene where he has the webs extended in each hand, but just that comedy scene where they run across him and then you see like the whole herd of the other one come. I'm like, you would never get that.
You wouldn't,
unless, and I mean, like what you brought up last episode or a couple episodes with Scott Pilgrim, like unless like right away they just establish, hey, we're going to kind of do this kind of imagery. But it brings me to a question. I'm sorry.
No.
Because everything you brought up is perfect. Like, I absolutely. Would this movie work on another hero? Like Spider-Man's movements, the way he gets around the city, the way they can hang upside down and stuff like that. I think that adds so much to what you can even do with animation.
Even the way Spot was moving through his spots, I was like, immediately I thought that it wouldn't translate to live action.
It wouldn't translate to live action for sure. But what I'm asking is,
would it any other?
Could they use another hero to make this style?
Like if they were to have like a Thor animated,
like a Thor animated, or Superman, or even Batman, because they don't move the same as a Spider-Man. They don't
see
like that action, and or like you said, even just them being able to hang upside down just gives you such an artistic shot that, like. Yeah, I guess, I mean, obviously someone like Batman would be different. But any other hero.
You bring up Batman, but my mind goes immediately to Nightwing, Dick Grayson. Because he has that acrobat grounding background. Like I've seen panels of him, like, flipping and flying through the city. Like it kind of has that same acrobatic twist to it, but without the web shooters. But he has his own, grapple line.
That's true. Yeah.
Like at that. I got chills.
Right. Nightwing would work really well.
If you're just talking about like, can you?
Crazy.
We really need a Dick movie.
Yes. Dick 1, 2, and 3 in my face right now.
The whole
Dick universe.
The whole Dick trilogy.
Oh man.
Never far from immaturity.
But if you were gonna pluck a character, like regardless of, I guess, let's say the Spider-Man element, you know how he moves and all that stuff. Like if you were gonna pluck a character and just put him in there, I think because like Spider-Man is who he is. Like he's that smart Alec, and like it's one of those things. Like I feel like maybe like a Deadpool character, can get put in there, only because like I feel like you can get away with all like the kookiness, of what they did in the animated world.
Well, what's so funny, speaking of that, like Deadpool, it's kind of like the reverse, where you never thought that you would be able to do a character like Deadpool who's super meta and then make it into live action. So like Deadpool and Scott Pilgrim should be the two inspirations, encouragements for studios to make live action super, not that they don't already do, but to be like full physics, like go full Monty. If this character is meta, go meta. If this character moves in a really like super agile way, like go full Monty with it. Don't hold back. We're the audience. We can accept it.
I mean, I think we can't go an episode without mentioning like Zack Snyder made Batman move.
Yes,
like,
yes, absolutely.
Tally on how many times we mentioned that.
Because didn't Deadpool travel the multiverse too, in a sense, when he went through and he killed certain versions of himself?
Yeah, he did
in that sequence.
Yep.
Like where he killed Ryan Reynolds when he was reading the Green Lantern script.
I'm sorry, but all of that's going to have to get bleeped out. We were given the spoiler alert for this movie and not Deadpool. So, Rudy, do your thing.
But
spoiler within a spoiler.
That's like
Inception.
16 spoilers.
Inception. But that's the thing, though. Like it was such a good movie.
It was a really good movie.
It really
good.
was. There's something to Spider-Man, just as we're saying, but you brought up the Sony game, or I think it's now multi-platform, but it was on the PlayStation exclusively originally. And, I love that game, the first one. I haven't really played the others, but it felt so good. And I remember everyone saying like, oh, I can't wait for them to make more. And I think they have said they're going to make a Wolverine, that same company.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But even when people were saying like, we want more heroes from this company, I have to say like Spider-Man worked, like, I think part of the fun in that game was specifically because you were Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because you could swing around and the way you can like grab the enemies and throw them. Like Spider-Man's, from a video game point of view, his mechanics as a hero just work really, really well. So I feel like it's kind of the same thing with this, with the animation. His mechanics as a hero work really, really well for very stylized animation.
Did that same company also make an Avengers game that flopped?
Oh, was that? Oh, we should look that up because that Avengers game.
Because I remember in the Spider-Man game, which
I don't think it's the same.
it was the last game that I actually like played full on through. Right, like I mentioned, I'm not much of a gamer, but that was the one, and I was on PS4. Yeah,
Was it that Avengers game where everybody was making fun of their costumes and said that
Yes.
the movie
yeah.
costumes look better than the video
Terrible.
game?
Yeah.
Or no. They said the
Captain.
Fortnite characters look better than that.
Probably, but I remember the Captain America looked wonky as shit. Definitely
looked trash.
weren't no America's ass, but because the Avengers was hinted at in
It was not.
no.
I
Oh,
think
Insomniac
Insomniac made Spider-Man. I think that was like Crystal
Weird.
Dynamics or something. Well, the Avengers game, that was, everyone's going after that Destiny Gold, that live action, live service video game where people can pay a monthly battle pass and this and that. So Avengers was supposed to be like a Destiny style game, and it had promise, but the looks of them, I can understand them wanting to separate themselves and say, hey, we're not the MCU. But they could have done a better job with those initial looks. Anyway, we're off topic.
Yeah, we're never too far from video
But-
games.
If
But
I'm wrong, wasn't there an Easter egg of the video game?
Yes.
In the
Not just the part 1 video, the recent Spider-Man 2
there's a
video
Spider-Man 2
Yeah.
Easter egg.
Because I saw it when I was watching the movie, and I was like, hitting my nephew. He was like, hey, look. He's like, no, I saw it. And then I later learned, oh, shit, that's actually a glimpse of the gameplay
Yeah, there
of
was
Spider-Man
actual
2.
gameplay footage in there. Like you got to pay attention, but it's in there. It's in there definitely.
Well, I think when they flash by the Insomniac Spider-Man, the little thing pops out that says Insomniac version.
I didn't see that. No, you know what? You said it at the beginning of this about like trying to keep your eyes peeled for all the different things. Thanks to Screen Crush, they listed 301 Easter eggs in that whole thing. And there's a bunch. There's comic covers, the number of things, just so much symbolism, so many Easter eggs in that thing. Do
with
yourself,
the 42 and the spider representing Mr. Jackie Robinson playing baseball. He was the first, black baseball player and all that stuff. So they did a little, they sprinkled a bunch of things throughout the movie.
A bunch of it too was also to pay homage. Comment in the comment section which one's right, of all of the movies, all the Spider-Man movies, from the the Spider-Man holding the two things together, pulling them together, to like the stopping the train sequence, dancing in the first Into the Spider-Verse. They I'm Peter Parker, and let's tell the story again, and they hinted at like the him dancing. I mean, everything from the Raimi Spider-Man to Andrew Garfield, everything, and I loved. Oh, even to the cartoons as well. I mean, in this one, the Spectacular Spider-Man, right, popped up and gave the pep talk to Miles Morales. So it's super. I love that this movie wasn't just like, no, we're our own little movie here. It's like, no, we're a true Spider-Verse movie, and we're going to include all of the Spider-Verses.
See, and this is what I feel. Marvel and I don't know, maybe even Star Wars and a lot of these movie companies, like if they're gonna make big movies, like we've mentioned before, I feel like you don't have to make all these individual movies. Like you can make a movie with multiple characters in there, and it can be done well. You don't need all the time, part one or part two, of a certain solo movies all the time. Like you can create a universe with having multiple characters in there at the same time. It doesn't have to be always that solo act every time.
I was going to ask, because I mean, so far we really haven't even touched on the story too much. We're still talking about animation. But before we do get into the story, was there any of the Spider alternatives?
I was actually going to mention something similar to
that really stood out, that either one that you already knew and you were excited to see, or one that maybe was brand new and you thought was cool.
As you guys are thinking about that answer, I was actually going to talk about something similar. So it is. Stop it.
No, you stop.
Sorry, there's a camera on. I got to play up to it.
It was because if you're not familiar, there was a Spider-Verse comic, the whole storyline. And when I was watching this movie, and they're in the Spider-Man headquarters in the future in 2099 in Nueva York, and all of the Spider characters, I was like, I'm familiar with maybe a quarter of these characters, and how many of these are just made up for the movie itself. And thanks to Ryan Arey on Screen Crush, all of them have been from the in comics or game, like they've all existed prior to the movie. So, which I think was super cool to do. But also seeing that many Spider people, I was like, God damn it! Was there that many variants of the Spider people?
Oh,
I'm sure Spider-Man's like the one character with the most. He's got to have the most variants out of every.
Because there's a crazy multiverse out there. Like I don't remember exactly. That's one thing we need to probably look up at some point, or for our own knowledge, like how many multiverses are there in the Marvel, not Marvel Cinematic Universe, but just in Marvel Comics in general?
I don't know if they ever put a limit on.
There's no limit.
Yeah.
All I know from
limit does not exist.
from Loki. No. Scratch that. I'm actually thinking of Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Another great multiverse movie, by the way.
A fantastic multiverse movie. What I was going to say was, because I thought it was in Loki, but it was actually in Everything Everywhere All at Once, was when they looked at like a graph of all the multiverses. Yeah. And there's like your core, multiverses, and the further out you get, then you turn into like a rock or like wiener fingers or whatever the hell it is. Because, there's T-Rex Spider-Man, there's Spider-Cat, there's Spider-Car, Peter Parked car, Spider-Ham. So there's like all those weird ones.
Endless goodies.
Yeah. For me, I gotta say, I liked Hobie. I like Spider-Punk. I loved the way that he was animated, just like that straight out of Sex Pistols, punk rock look. He was voiced by, oh my God, I thought I remembered his name.
I was gonna say, I think I read somewhere where they like animated different parts of him at different frame rates.
Oh, he did seem like a lower frame rate.
I think it was. I mean, it was all that kind of like cutout magazine look to him. And again, like one of those things like so cool to see animated, because we've obviously seen that look before. Yeah. But to see it animated and hardcore, I mean, they went in on that character. They totally got him.
Voiced by Daniel Kaluuya, and he was in Black Panther. So some of these voice actors kind of double dipped in the MCU as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I won't go into like who they played in live action stuff, but that's the other thing too. The fucking cast is great. From Oscar Isaac to Jake Johnson to Mahershala Ali, Daniel Kaluuya, dude, Jason Schwartzman, Issa Rae. It goes on and on and on. Like these
Oscar
people.
Isaac is in there, but
The other space daddy.
Rudy, do you have
Who's
a
your favorite?
particular favorite?
Spider person.
Oh shit! No, I wasn't like consciously looking forward to this Spider-Man or this Spider-Man. I did fucking die when Peter Parker fucking popped up and it flashed a name under it. Peter Parker, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. And then watching the in-depth videos of like that's the actual character that popped up in one of the Spider-Verse comics. I'm like, holy shit.
Oh no, but see, and that's the thing. For a lot of people who don't know about all these other Spoodermans, like it's crazy to think that these other variants like exist out there and that they're real.
Yeah,
Like that's the thing, that they're like
canon now.
like they're real characters that exist in their own universe.
Completely side point, not Spider-Man related, but we're talking about like the weird stuff that now kind of exists in these movie things.
Sure.
I still think about the Thanos' helicopter that was in Loki.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
want to talk about ridiculous comic book stuff.
man.
Do you remember?
No.
Yes.
They were like when Loki got sucked to that planet where he met the other Lokis, they were or planet
They
or
were like,
dimension or whatever. They were like walking through and you see
Like
this,
exiled, weren't they?
down,
Or hiding.
yeah, this downed helicopter that says like Thanos on the side.
Yeah,
and if
on
you
the
look
side
it up
of
in the
it.
comics, like Thanos showed
has
up
a
like on a
helicopter.
helicopter.
He had a yes, he legit had a helicopter.
I don't remember that.
It's as good as
I'll have to
Batman
look it up.
shark repellent.
because this is all that old school stuff.
Anyway, back to Spider-Man.
But
Thanos copter.
for me,
Hold on, sorry. Before you continue, I had a whole different visual image of Thanos copter when you said that, and I was like, "Well,
It's like Thanos has a
Thanos
helicopter.
without pants on."
I am inevitable.
I call this Thor's hammer. I call this Mjolnir.
You see the spin, you come back to me.
no.
Getting some wind off of that thing.
He misread the instructions on how to like do the snap. He thought it was you had the helicopter. He just
Put your pants on.
He hung all the stones from And so I was like, "What are you doing? You just got to snap." Oh,
How'd you Prince Albert for that many Infinity Stones?
The Infinity Jock.
Dear God.
The Infinity Jock strap.
If we have any animators listening, I would love an animation of that. Yeah,
What just
send it.
happened? What just happened? Thanks, Rudy, for
I
getting us off
can
of that
almost
thing.
guarantee you that's somewhere on Reddit right now. Thanos doing a helicopter. Like,
Poor Jermaine has to bring this. Where he's going to continue it after that.
All right, wait.
I always do.
Bring it back.
I always do.
By the way, the T-Rex one, his thwip was T-whip. T-thwip.
yeah, I
that's
hadn't noticed
awesome.
that either until I saw the breakdown. And I was like, oh, that's so cute.
That shit was
Jermaine,
gold.
back to you.
Sorry, Jermaine.
Oh no, but for me, it's just one of those things. Like I'm like a villains fan because I feel like if you have a good villain, then you're gonna have a even greater hero.
Agreed.
And it's not saying that I don't, that I didn't like any of the heroes or anything. I loved everybody, but for me, it's always the threat in the movie, the big dun-dun-dun, moment of what's to come, and it's what these characters have to overcome. And I love that throwaway character, the Spot.
He started off as a throwaway character.
Yeah.
Villain of the week.
And
Yep.
I loved his Dragon Ball Z evolution.
Dude,
like
God mode.
Like he became this thing that necessarily I feel like nobody expected.
No.
Not even him.
No. Yeah.
And for me, that was the like, oh, shit just got real.
Yeah.
Like the weight of the movie happened with this throwaway character. Besides, all the other characters, they were carrying, their own weights in the sense, but just that character alone and what we got in the beginning to what we got at the end, I was like, oh,
And
I'm ready for this.
I also like a nemesis, not just a villain, but a nemesis. That their storyline, or rather their motives, kind of, well, not the motives, but where that character parallels the protagonist, right? So with the Spot, he was a throwaway villain, or the villain of the week, right? Underestimated. Miles was underestimated, and he had to continue to prove his worth in a positive way, but he had to continue to prove his worth. And so that's where you can see the both of them kind of, you know, seeing eye to eye. I like a villain that has motive, where the protagonist has to question, like, should I stop this guy? That's what made Thanos a really interesting character, a villain. Is you know, it was like, yeah, you snap and you get rid of 50% of the population, and it was the same reasoning that people like hunt deer or whatever, and it's to like help control the population so that those that survive don't starve and live a higher quality life, you know. And you go, well, at least he's just snapping and not murdering them like he used to before the Infinity Gauntlet. But what I'm leading to is Miguel O'Hara. He is sort of the anti-hero of the movie.
Like, he's that version of like Spider-Man that doesn't have all that hope and,
Yeah.
you know, like the overcome, we can do this.
As broody as Ben Reilly.
Yeah.
But what I loved about Miguel O'Hara is when you get to the point in the movie, which was, I like in movies where they show and don't tell. And this movie definitely showed and didn't feel the need to tell, except for this earned exposition, which was when Miles meets Miguel O'Hara, and he gives a whole explanation of the Spiderverse. And by the way, did you catch the sort of Sacred Timeline-esque looking thing branching off, a la Loki? So that might, you know, connect both of those things. And because of that, where Miguel O'Hara, his job essentially is to maintain the Spider-Verse timelines, thus like the canon warnings, making sure that, you know, the Uncle Ben's die, and the Stacy, what's Gwen Stacy's dad's name? I forget, but Captain Stacy dies. Like, that's canon that needs to move those characters along. And one of the plot points in the movie is that if any of these canon events, like Nexus events in Loki, if they don't happen, then the whole thing will collapse, and that character will be something else, which was a plant. And you, for later on, when you realize that the original Miles Morales in Earth 42, who was supposed to get bit by the spider that our Miles Morales got bit by, didn't have his uncle die, and actually had his dad die, and then turns him evil. So these canon events are important. So in this whole, what I'm trying to get to is what makes Miguel O'Hara an anti-hero is he's very similar to Kang the Conqueror, or Kang and all his variants. Is he is there to control maybe not the sacred timeline, but the Spider-Verse timeline. And if anything fucks up, it'll create a Nexus event and destroy that whole universe. And so he's like, sorry, Miles, you weren't supposed to have gotten bit by the spider. You weren't supposed to exist. Your Spider-Man was supposed to live, and you kind of fucked things up. They said in a PG-13 way. And you're kind of like, damn, he's kind of right, you know? So is he a bad guy? He's doing it in real dickish ways.
I mean, if you look at it that way.
I think
I do.
that the duty of protecting the Spider-Verse, you know, the fact that the things that you have to make sure happen are so dark and sad.
Yeah.
Like, that would definitely have a toll on you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if anyone could like do that and maintain any sort of like hope and happiness. You're at that point, you're going to like get the job done.
What's interesting when they introduced I forget the character's name. I should have looked it up. But the Indian Spider-Man he's like, if you remember in Across the Spider-Verse, he's, by the way, I love that the way his artwork looked. It was like very Bollywood and stuff like that. The colors are great. And Moonbatten, he's very positive and very colorful and here's how things. I'm not gonna do the accent. He's like, here's how things are. I have a girlfriend. I'm cool with the in-law. Not that they weren't married yet. Life is going great. And it's like, why are you so happy? Oh, it's because the bad shit hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say spoiler alert, but he what ends up happening is Miles Morales saves that universe's Captain Stacy and stops a canon event, starts to kill the whole universe.
Yeah. Before we get too much into the story, I just want to say I really liked obviously Spider-Punk. And then seeing Ben Reilly's Scarlet Spider was cool to me because that was one of the early comic books. I mean, I mostly got DC as a kid, but I think seeing that new Spider-Man on the cover, that new costume, I liked the hoodie thing. I thought that was kind of cool back then. So seeing him in this movie was cool, especially that art style, that very 90s, super ripped, heavy inked. Yeah, that was really cool to see. And then I don't know if I caught the name, but the girl that was just like an avatar, like she was just sitting at home on the VR set. Me, as someone that loves playing VR, I was like, oh man, that's so cool. I always wanted a video game that treated me like as someone putting on the VR and talked to me as if they knew I was sitting at home in the VR controlling an avatar. I always thought that'd be a cool game. And I always thought it'd make like a pretty cool superhero. So that was neat to see.
I was looking at it, I was like, oh, they got their own Oracle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think, Oracle's such a good character that I feel like a lot. I'm surprised more heroes don't have that Oracle.
Yeah. This movie is in the point of view of Gwen and Miles. In the first movie, it was just point of view of Miles. So it's a point of view of them, these two kids who are spider people. But not only that, what makes them unique is that they aren't a Peter. You know what I mean? So they can kind of relate to each other on that end. So yeah, the whole movie starts off with Miles Morales, and he's learning to be a good Spider-Man. He's trying to, typical Spider-Man thing. He's trying to balance life and superhero-ness.
Which it was almost refreshing to see the whole secret identity thing again, because we haven't had that in a lot of these superhero movies, and it, especially with the teenage character, it just adds so much more funness, I think, to the story, and that like stress. And I mean, I guess it makes you relate to the characters a bit more, because you recognize like, man, he needs to finish school, but he's also saving the world or saving multiple worlds right now. So I think that was a cool thing. And
what I like about a Spider-Man storyline where he's a teenager or he's in school is that he has his parents, he has his parental figures, and he's trying to get along with them, trying to relate to them. He's still under their roof and under their rules, and nobody in the entire movie, that's like a common theme where nobody takes him seriously. None of the adult figures take him seriously. Gwen believes in him, but his parents don't believe in him.
We believe in him.
We, the Hype Attack podcast, believe in Miles Morales.
But we, the people, like the audience, like it's one of those things where it's hard because you're watching a movie and those are the little elements that get you frustrated because as the audience member, what Miles is doing, but he's getting shitted on by everybody. And it's just one of those things like, you're like, if they only knew what this guy has been doing.
But also, if Miles only, in the first act, yes, he's doing a pretty good job being a Spider-Man. Made some mistakes here and there, nothing too major yet. But even still, he hasn't reached his full potential. You think he reaches that in the third act?
It's a evolution of these characters as the movie progresses and it goes on. I felt a little bad for Spider-Gwen because you're wondering when this movie starts and then she gets to go with the Spiderverse team, and you're sitting there and you're wondering, you're like, why is it a problem for her to go? And then the whole Miles thing, like when she comes back and then she visits him for the first time and you find out that she's been in this Spider-Verse unit, this
elites.
elite
Small elite team turns out to be a
society for like a while, but you really find out that she just recently that she came to his universe to really do a job.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily really to see him. And you also see that they both really missed each other, especially from the first, movie to where we are now. When she gets his sketchbook, and you see all the sketches of her in there, and then they're swinging through the city and all this stuff. But when you find out the reason why she couldn't come visit him,
It was heartbreaking.
yeah, I'm like, all Spider-Man stories hurt. They hurt deep.
But also, there's so many layers to this movie, right? There's his own self-discovery. There's this meta story. It's kind of meta where Miles Morales is trying to, and it's said by like his counselor, played by Rachel Dratch, where she tells him, "You need to write your own story. You're the maker of your own story," and he, throughout part 1 and part 2, he felt the need to prove himself. Which the meta theme is that the character overall in the comics as well of Miles Morales, a black Spider-Man who tries to fight his way to be seen and be known and prove his self-worth in this world where everyone loves Peter Parker Spider-Man is such like a beautifully a beautiful meta thing in this whole thing. I don't know if I had any other points.
Yeah, no,
End scene.
plus there's like the whole idea that Miles and Gwen were dealing with having like that secret life with their parents and needing to tell their parents, but not knowing how their parents would react. It's obviously parallels to a lot of things that kids go through in the real world, which, I mean, part of the whole point of Spider-Man from the very beginning in the comic books, Stan Lee, was Spider-Man was supposed to be us as readers. He was the little nerd. The whole reason he had a full mask was because he could be anybody. And I think we got that again with this movie of just like these characters could be, especially a younger person that is still with their parents or still, maybe keeping things from their parents. I just thought that was a kind of a beautiful parallel to maybe some issues. No, you still can't be Spider-Man.
How dare you? This movie proved I can be whatever I want to be.
Everyone but you.
You know what having a mask on and talking sounds like?
Like you have a mask on?
The Deadpool reference. You got a dick in your mouth.
When
That's part 2 of the trilogy.
when Isaac wears the Spider-Man costume or his mask, I'm like that little kid that was in the show. I don't want this costume anymore.
It's funny, that kid's voice. That kid's voice is so deeper than. I don't want it.
It's so money.
But back to what you were saying, I do think that making Miles that first anomaly, and that's why, because I think in one of our earlier episodes, after seeing the trailer, we had commented or we had pondered what made Miles not fit in. Because I think in the early trailers, they showed Miguel, Spider-Man 2099, saying like, you don't belong here or something like that.
I think we asked what his sacrifice was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were wondering what it was. I was like, he already had a sacrifice. What else does he need to give up? Can't he just live?
That was a dramatization of episode 2.
So yeah, learning that he was this first anomaly and he shouldn't exist, and because of him, there's this whole other thing. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, that was money.
There's a lot of really cool standout, I think, moments story wise.
It's a layered movie.
Oh yeah, like it hit him hard. So when you find out that Gwen knows and all the rest of the character knows, and then when Miles finds this out,
Yeah. The betrayal.
like that hit him hard, especially the fact that Gwen knew
And that Peter being you.
and all the
That's his
everybody
mentor.
knew. Yeah.
But
Everybody knew.
those two hit the hardest.
Everybody knew. And it's that aspect of, because when I was watching the trailer, I was like, what is he gonna have to give up? Like, you know it's going to be a thing that's going to be heartbreaking. But the thing that I really liked about Miles when he found out, you know, why he couldn't be a part of this thing, because he did ask Gwen. He's like, you know, or Gwen told him that there was only like a few spots on this, you know, on this
Definitely lied.
You know, squad, and then he goes into that universe, and it's everyone except for him.
Yeah, which made for a good comedic beat, by the way.
And it's just one of those things that like when he finds out the reason, that's heartbreaking because he's looking at this like he already lost people. All these Spoodermans already lost people. And it's just this thing that like they tell him that this has to happen. Like,
yeah,
your dad is gonna die. His dad is going to become chief, and in the Spiderverse, that's the thing that happens. Captain, my fault. But
it's okay. We'll forgive it.
That he has to die. Boo this man. But that he has to die. And it's one of those things like where I feel like Spider-Man 2099 is one of those people I'm like, you're not the one who, in my head anyways, you're not the one who I want to lead this task force, because I get he has done things and he sees it, but in my head and probably in a Spider-Man Peter Parker head, there has to be a way around this. Like this stuff necessarily doesn't have to happen. So it's one of those things like where he's like, the line that he drops, he's like, everybody keeps telling me my story, you know, or how my story's supposed to go. And he's like, nah, you know, I'm gonna do my own thing. And it's one of those things like where I immediately went home and I changed my Instagram bio to that. But it's just one of those things like where that is a Spider-Man. Like, you want that hope. You need that hope, and you have to have that. And that's going off topic, but that's what, you know, a hero, Superman, you know, represents. Like, yes, there's all these things going on, but you always have this hope, regardless of what it is that's going to happen, or the fact that they're telling you that this has to happen no matter what. And I'm supposed to just sit here and allow that? No.
Yeah, it's a whole argument. No. It's a whole argument over destiny. Mm-hmm. And by the way, it's not just hope, but self-generated hope. Because throughout the whole first movie,
with great power comes great responsibility. And nah, fuck you bitches, I'm doing my own thing.
Which, by the way, we got like in the first one, at the end of the first one, where he finally realizes his self-worth and his strength, and he's falling, he launches off the building, he's falling down, but it's an upside down, it's an inverted shot, so it looks like he's rising up. Cue the song, it's like whatever, rising up. Fucking, by the way, the soundtrack on both of these movies. Danger?
That's still in my gym playlist.
Man, the soundtrack is fucking hot as shit.
Just as good as everything else. Like this movie, every beat,
everything
hit.
It's really good.
It's so good. It's so good.
A little tangent. Speaking of the sound, people were complaining that the sound was a little low in like the first act.
I've seen that.
And one of the writers or the producers made stickers, and it said, I'm awesome because I play the movie at 7, so it should be played at 7 or 7.5. So if anyone's a projector runner, play the goddamn thing at the volume at 7 to 7.5.
Yeah, I was in the Dolby Theater, and I want to say it did feel a little low at first, but then eventually it was fine. But I was definitely worried.
Yeah, they said it was
man, if someone starts talking next to me, I'm going to give them the biggest ever.
Speaking of like the soundtrack, there's a little Easter egg that I know that they said that Spider-Man 2099's main theme comes from the oh my god, it just left me, the Unlimited Spider-Man theme, because the Unlimited Spider-Man design is pulled from Spider-Man 2099. So that from the cartoon, they pulled the theme from there and they did their own thing for the Spider-Man.
And I love that
2099.
little sound beat.
Oh, heck yeah!
Like, I love stuff like that.
It's menacing. It just fits that character. Like he's that, like we mentioned, that version of Spider-Man that necessarily didn't get his powers through a spider bite. I think he genetically did something to his body.
Yeah, some experiments with spider DNA, but he didn't get bit.
So he's like a very different variant from everybody else. And I feel like that fit well because like they mentioned in the movie, Miles wasn't supposed to exist. That spider wasn't supposed to bite him. And just him being a very far off variant than all the rest of it just fit that those two were gonna
Clash.
Yeah, like bump heads and clash.
Speaking of clashing, I'm sorry. I want to get this in before I forget. I want to give the writers props for not turning the Spider-Punk Miles Morales Gwen thing into some stupid love triangle beef thing.
Oh yeah,
like they were
could have.
setting it up towards like, oh, they're gonna clash, and they didn't. Spider-Punk ended up being really, really cool about it all, and and I thought that was kind of cool and refreshing, especially since you're dealing with like 15-year-old.
Oh yeah,
you know, like the typical 15-year-old be like, man, what are you talking of? The girl I like, but that was Miles.
Spider-Punk is too cool for
Spot
that.
on.
Hey, I was always cool. To him and Miguel O'Hara clashing, and more so to our Miles being technically an anomaly, right? So Miles is given the classic trolley dilemma. You guys familiar with the Dolly situation, or it would be like the cart trolley, whatever, like in Spider-Man 1. It's like, are the lives of the many worth the life of one, or vice versa? And it's like your dad has to die. Yeah. Oh, it was like your dad has to die in order for the fucking multiverse.
So I was doing a Star Trek
Yeah, he
reference.
was just doing.
Is that what it was? Sorry.
Star Trek.
Oh my
Star
God.
Trek
I accidentally quoted a Star Trek. Play the thing. I learned something.
No, you don't get that.
Damn
That
it.
was inadvertent.
But
I always
man,
try to sell.
the
Oh, no. So what I wanted to say was, so Miles gets presented the trolley situation, right? And it's like, this can't be the only way that has to happen. And the thing is, it isn't, because he's an anomaly. So he gets to write his own story. So I don't think he's beholden to a canon event. And I don't know if he realizes it just yet, but I don't think fucking Miguel realizes that, because Miles wasn't supposed to exist at all.
Oh, no, but nobody.
This one.
Exactly. And that's the conflict and, what they have to deal with. But it's just one of those things, like I said, because it's this type of thing that he has to choose or accept, it's just going to be one of those things, because it has happened many times before. Everybody else feels like this is just the way that our story goes.
Even Gwen was going to accept it for the most part. And when she finally gets back to her universe and finally confronts her dad, because I think we skipped over it. And again, you've probably seen the movie, but in the first act, it's a cold open, by the way. It's a movie. It wasn't even the title yet. It's cold open. It's Gwen's story. She has a whole battle against the Vulture with Miguel O'Hara and Jessica Drake in the museum. And her dad is trying to hunt down Spider-Woman, because Spider-Woman, quote unquote, killed Peter Parker. He was the loser.
Or he thought.
He thought so.
Because Gwen was lingering over the body.
And so they have that Amazing Spider-Man Andrew Garfield moment where she finally has to take off her mask, thinking, this is going to solve it. My dad's going to be like, oh, you're Spider-Woman? All right, all is forgiven. But, dude, like, my heart sunk when he started to read her the Miranda rights.
I was looking at that scene. I was like, you company man.
So she runs away because she's like, I can't believe this. Like, talk about being betrayed, heartbroken and betrayed. And so she runs away and she runs off. And
then she finds out.
When she finally comes back and reunites with her father, and she was just going to grab some stuff and take off. But he then reveals to her that I quit being captain in the middle of your speech. And she's like, oh, this means like the curse, the captain's curse is over.
But it's also cold because that's an ice cold scene too, because when she leaves to go with the Spiderverse team, they were, hesitant at first to take her. But just her story in general, when she goes with them, I was like, why are they allowing her, to go? And then you find out that, her dad was supposed to die. But it's one of those, I'm like, she left and then she found this out and then she still stayed there. And then, like her coming back, in my head, I thought that, she was coming back and gonna possibly see, RIP to her dad because she knew the outcome. So that's why I felt like the other Spider-Verse team took her in, because they're like, well, her story's gonna end like this as well. So let's just take her in, So when she did come back, I was like, when you find this stuff out, through the movie, and I was like, dang, so she knew, but she was just gonna let her dad die. That's why I say it was ice cold, because of that whole, she had the knowledge, but she still
kind of reminds me of like Minority Report.
Yeah.
You learn about the future and you come back and you're like still gonna go through with it. So if I'm not mistaken, then they didn't want to take her because she was a liability because her canon event hadn't happened yet, right?
I think, yeah.
That's what I got out of that.
Yeah.
Her canon event didn't happen, and then the whole Miles thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably her relationship with Miles as well.
With Miles was more so like a big thing with that. But I even like how Spider-Man Miles gets, because of the whole when he finds that out and then he has to run from everybody, and then he has these little interactions with everybody, and then when Miguel finally catches up to him, I love that he had that plan the whole time where he was like,
luring him away.
Yeah. When they battle and they go through it, and he's like, I needed you guys here. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's my boy Spider-Man right there. Like that's
proving his worth.
That's the Spider-Man-esque like moment right there, which was so money to me. And with that said, for him finally going to the machine, that pretty cool little Matrix-y.
What was it called? Machine. It was called like the go back home.
The go machine.
Yeah, the go home. Where it takes your DNA and it sends you
plot point
to where you're from.
Yeah.
So it places you back to your reality. Now, going into this, did any of you guys see that twist?
No.
Well, as soon as he got in, it listed a different Earth than what he was on. I forget the numbers, but I just recognized it was different.
That was the thing. I forgot that. I was like, I didn't remember what his Earth number was.
Yeah.
But that was me too. Because it popped up going back to Earth 42, which was the number on the spider that bit him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Like when they were going through all that, I'm like, oh shit, that wasn't his universe. Like, oh, he got infused with the spider DNA, and now that's his origin universe because of that spider.
Yeah, like that whole thing. Like I was, it got me, and it was just one of those things like where I was like where he finally revealed his identity to his mom, and I was like, she just played that off.
Yeah,
but that moment right there, I was like, no.
Somebody said too her eye color is different.
Yeah, like he's not there, and it didn't register. And I was sitting there. Like,
the art was subtly different too.
You motherfuckers got me. You motherfuckers.
Yeah, it was so wrapped up in the drama of that scene that I didn't notice it until she's like, Spider who? And I'm like,
and of course
they did it
Gwen,
so well.
They had Gwen on the outside.
Yeah.
Apparently she was just hesitating to get in, but they made it out like she was listening to it.
I love that.
Everything like Doug said, Gwen was outside. His dad was on his way home, and then when you saw the cop car pull up, and the person that comes to the apartment it's his uncle who died in the first movie,
Yeah.
and you're like, what the hell is going on? I mean, but I got it from when the mom, just
When she says, "What's Spider-Man?"
yeah,
Who's Spider-Man?
yeah. So that whole aspect, and it just kept getting better and better. And then when you find out that he's talking to his uncle, who was the Prowler in his universe from the first movie, and they get into this thing and they go up to the roof.
No, they go up to his law. Oh no, yeah. I'm sorry. Our
the
Miles
roof. And then he gets knocked out by something we don't know. And then it's revealed to him that his version of himself in this alternate universe is the Prowler. And he's chained up to this punching bag.
a la Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. But do you guys remember before Miles was even revealed that he was this universe's Prowler, and they set it up where his uncle looked like he was a Prowler because he had a claw.
Yeah.
When he smacked
Oh, that was so cool.
Dude.
the punching bag, how
That scene, that the tenseness of him like trying to explain like who he is and
Yeah.
like, let me go, and like it's quiet.
He's saying nothing.
And he's like, yeah, he's not saying anything. And Miles is talking, but he's not talking very loud. And then he just turns around
and he locks the door and all that stuff. Like it's
like
tense.
just the sound and the visual impact of him striking that thing.
Yeah.
I was like, I
Part of
flew
it's
back in my
Miles'
chair.
head
We-
gone?
Yeah.
Is Miles' head's gone?
Right?
we grazed over something, by the way.
Oh, hold on.
go
hold on.
ahead.
What would you guys have done if he smacked that punching bag and it had that effect and it said "to be continued"?
Ooh, no, they wouldn't have killed him. Yeah.
No. I'm not saying it would have killed him.
Back
but
and
to
just
not,
no head.
to not to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not to know,
Oh.
like just right there, because there was a lot of people that were making so many little comments towards the end, because it's part one. For those of us who knew it was part one, you're trying to figure out like where they're gonna end it.
Yeah.
you
No,
know?
I think they ended it at a proper place. 'Cause
Oh, no, they did.
Yeah, you had
I
that
think-
cliffhanger of revealing. So the thing that we grazed over was we were talking about Childish Gambino, Donald Glover. He did actually reprise his role from Homecoming as Aaron Davis, but actually in the Prowler suit when there's a part of the movie where they're showing Miles Morales all the variants, the anomalies that they caught,
Yeah,
including just a regular boring rhinoceros. and then there you have him, fucking Donald Glover in the Prowler suit. I was like, fuck yeah, we got him in something, in some sort of suit. That blew my mind. That was super cool.
It was interesting because there was a few live action moments. There was a full live action
Yeah.
scene from Venom, right?
Yep.
And then there was
Spot goes in
like
it.
showing like footage from some of the other Spider-Man. And even though this movie is heavily animated, right? Not even like close to photorealism. Somehow the live action still like fit. Like it like
Yeah.
Donald Glover's Prowler like didn't feel out of place.
Oh, no.
It was
just like
so weird.
another like visually striking thing about
Yeah,
it.
not
It
at
was
all.
a really beautifully animated thing.
I heard originally they were playing around with some reality scenes.
Yeah.
But they said that they didn't like how it fit.
Yeah.
It just felt off to them. Not saying that it wouldn't have worked, but I feel like maybe they're looking at it like now's not the right time to like get big into the reality. Maybe in the second
what
one,
the
you
third
know,
movie's for.
yeah.
Yeah. No, they were.
I think we should do a shout out though that the Lego scene was done by a 14-year-old
Oh, yeah.
that they discovered.
Was that one?
Money.
I, thought I know that there's a trailer.
The 14-year-old made the trailer, and the directors from the movie saw the trailer and said, "That's really good. Let's bring him in." So
Shut the fuck up. I didn't know that.
He animated
That's
that
cool.
little.
Whoa.
Spider- at least that's
It's one of the
whatever.
coolest.
No,
One of the
don't
coolest
quote
parts.
me, right?
Hey, you're the platinum card carrying nerd. Going back to like it being animated, by the way, like when he is in Earth 42 and those like subtle art differences, I want to really like illustrate, pun intended, that this movie worked so well for a bunch of reasons, the acting, the plot devices and everything. but also it could not have worked in live action, because how the hell are you going to make Hobie in a live action if the whole thing is if the whole movie is also playing on like the art styles? Because we kind of like skipped over whenever you're in Gwen's world and it's a whole watercolor thing, and it's the whole show don't tell, where the colors change when someone's angry and sad and reveal, and it's so beautifully
also,
done.
Sorry, Jennifer, I don't know if you noticed. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I noticed how like that last scene with Gwen and her dad, as they spoke, like the background got more and more just color. Like it lost the detail.
Yeah.
Like it, and just because the focus became those two. And again, that's the stuff, as you were saying,
Beautifully
you can't
done.
do.
So, see,
I didn't mean to sidetrack you.
No. That's exactly what I was talking about. High five.
but I would like to battle you guys too with that, saying that you can't do it in a live action movie.
Fucking fight me.
Come at me, bro. Because I feel like you can have it all. For me, for my perspective of just being me. Do you guys remember that movie, Scanner Darkly?
Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Scanner
RDJ.
You can have a animated style, multiverse, things, but like maybe the movie couldn't have been done exactly the way, that they did it. But I still feel like you can have this in a real world setting, not necessarily just animated.
Here's why I don't exactly think that. Not only is animation more forgiving, and like the hard thing with, like I just mentioned with like the Little Mermaid, where they're trying to make it like realistic, the CGI, but you can just tell it's CGI, so it kind of takes you out of it at a certain aspect. Even Christopher Nolan had said something similarly when he was talking about Oppenheimer that's coming out soon, where it's like CGI it just looks like CGI, and hardly anything's going to be so photorealistic. But there was a part when after Miles comes back into his air quote his universe, his world, and he's swinging through and he's having this existential crisis, and the building's closing in on him, and images of crossing across his lenses and stuff, spots popping up, but it's all in his head. Like that would not have been captured. It would be extremely difficult to have made that in a live action where it didn't kind of take you out of it. It worked so perfectly. All of the different art styles, the creators of this movie leaned so much into it, and it worked fucking perfectly. You guys, it's a great movie. It's a really cool movie, you guys.
It's really good.
Really good.
Really good.
One last thing before we, done or whatever, with
Or whatever.
with the Spot
Motherfucker.
character evolving to who he was. Like he was that throwaway, villain of the week, to where he ended up in the end of the movie. So there was supposed to be a end credit scene, because I don't know if you guys heard, but
There's no end or mid-credit scene in this movie.
yeah, there's nothing. So the Spot, when he was the regular throwaway villain, he was supposed to visit a bar full of villains, and they were all supposed to make fun of him, and like, oh, you're trash, yada yada, you're nothing. And then you were supposed to get that scene, and then as his character evolved through the movie, there was supposed to be a end credit scene where he goes back to that bar and
In God mode.
Yeah, oh yeah, and whoops on
been fun.
everybody.
To clarify, at the end, the reason why Earth 42 Miles Morales turned into the Prowler is because that Earth didn't have a Spider-Man. So our Miles Morales, he would have been okay if he didn't become Spider-Man, because that world already had a Spider-Man. It already had the whole, I don't even know if it had all the superheroes, but it had Spider-Man for sure. And so essentially when our Miles kind of stole the powers, didn't mean to, but
He didn't steal it. It was bestowed upon him.
it was bestowed upon him when he became that anomaly. Yeah, he took that glimmer of hope from the Miles Morales Prowler, which is going to be a great setup of the third movie. Is he gonna redeem his Miles, the Prowler Miles? Is he gonna, that glimmer of hope that he is generating inside himself, is he going to be able to have that resonate in the Prowler Morales? To help him save our dad. It's going to be, now I feel like now there's like the 3 villains. There's the Spot, God Mode, the anti-hero Miguel O'Hara, and Prowler Miles. I'm excited for the 3rd movie.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think this 3rd movie is going to be.
Oh no, it's going to be.
It might also be really good.
Because that's
really
the point.
good.
That is the point of a superhero. It's not just to like save people, but it's to elicit hope.
Yeah,
you know.
I have to say they did miss an opportunity with the mid-credits scene of having like the credits rolling and then a Spot appear. And then the Spot like popping through and like, like some sort of meta bullshit.
Very
Like
meta,
he's
yeah.
coming into our universe.
Oh yeah.
I
Breaking the
thought
fourth wall or fifth wall? Fourth wall.
Yeah.
So many wall
One of the
breaks.
walls.
Just break the walls.
I do have one other point. My boy Spider-Man. My whole problem with the canon events. The canon events make Spider-Man who he is. They're all terrible things, but they're character building things. Mm-hmm. But the original Spider-Man, Spider-Man has evolved through the comics, has been constantly shit on. Mm-hmm. Constantly. He's never allowed to be happy. He's never allowed to have, like they made the whole point, have your cake and eat it too. Make 2 cakes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not proud of you.
He can't be with Mary Jane. Like they give him that and then they take it away. He can't have friends because there's some enemy waiting to kill all of his friends to get to him. Like, how much can you dump on a character and then make the canon events like, this has to happen or you're not going to be a true Spider-Man.
Peter B. Parker kind of shows that you can have a family.
Yeah, but eventually one of his enemies is going to come for him.
Yeah, but he's still got to have a baby for a minute. Some happy. Listen, not to be
like,
depressing.
I'm not saying that superheroes inherently get to lead, or should get to lead, happy lives after. Like, there's always going to be that struggle because they put themselves in harm's way. But there are people who have made the comparison between Batman and Spider-Man, and like both of those characters just can't be happy. Like they're so wrapped up in their mission that them trying to go off and find a little bit of happiness always gets snatched away from them. Just like, I want them to be happy, and I hope Miles breaks this fucking mold where he gets to be Spider-Man. And he gets to have a life too. Like, I hope that's how he rewrites the story.
He's going to keep his alternate universe himself, and then they'll be able to just like twinsies it out every once in a while. You go to school for me, be with my parents.
Just turns into a whole sitcom thing.
Yeah.
Happiness isn't forever, Rudy.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, moving on from that.
Spider-Man's supposed to be all of us nerds, and we just get shit on the line.
The fucking when they introduce Miles Morales as the Prowler, like, I'm a baby sneakerhead. When they, he steps into the room and they flash to his shoe, and it's Miles Morales has had the original Air Jordan Chicago colorway on his shoes through the 2 movies, and they've released physical designs, like real life designs of those shoes. I own the first pair, wasn't able to get the ones for this movie, but they gave Dark Miles his own shoe on that. Very original shoe. Well, not original shoe, but it's a version of the Air Jordan 1, and I saw that and I was like, only one in the theater that made any noise during that. But as soon as they flashed to that shoe, I was like, my wife was sitting next to me and she was just like, ugh. She's like, there he goes. I had to bring that up. Like, all my sneakerheads out there, like, if you happen to come into that shoe, man, like, I will pay you.
Yeah, his birthday's coming up, so DM him
like,
at Rogue.one. You guys, it's a big movie, but I think we hit all of the main points. So let's wrap this up. It's time to say goodbye. Until next time, check us out at The Hype Attack on Instagram and TikTok. If there's anything that we missed about this topic, if there's anything that you want us to talk about another topic, hit us up in the DM or the comment section. Doug?
Yeah, I always say keep the conversation going, and please hit us up. Let us know how you nerd, and then maybe we'll mention that next episode when we talk about how we nerded. Because I think it's important for everyone to figure out and see how people nerd in this crazy world.
I love it. We're all one big community. So let's pack up our web shooters, turn off the movie, put the mask away. Yeah. You guys, until next time, same hype time, same hype channel.
Hype attack.